Good morning. I'd like to bring the September 4th, 2019 Planning Advisory Commission meeting to order. It is 9 o'clock and it's time to begin, so please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a courtesy, I just ask if you would please silence and or turn off your cell phones, and I'm going to make sure mine's that way, but certainly it'll go off. Thank you for doing that. I remind those in the audience and those that are watching by television, this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception that will be brought before us today. So this is the first time. We will first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff and ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address for or against the request and inquire about the said request. Commissioners will have any needed discussion on the case once a motion is made and seconded by the commission. A vote will take place and a recommendation will then be rendered. The case will go back to the planning department for their independent evaluation and recommendation. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is forwarded on to the city council with the two independent recommendations. Planning Department makes a recommendation for denial. The applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of a letter stating the denial to notify the clerk of council that they are requesting to be placed on City Council's agenda. City Council of Columbus will hold a public meeting. It'll be called the first reading. Said council will consider the case, review PAC and Planning Department recommendations, and hear discussion on the matter. Council will make a final decision at another meeting, which will be called, or the second public meeting, which will be a council meeting, which will be called the second reading. Okay, that's it. Members, do we have an opportunity to take a look at the minutes from the last meeting? If so, is there any discussion? Mr. Renfro?
Last meeting minutes weren't submitted until late, so they weren't actually submitted to y'all.
Okay.
Those
so
will be
that answers that. I noticed we didn't have any minutes. Okay. That brings us, we have 3 zoning cases this morning, a little bit of new business to take care of. And I think Mr. Smallman I think he just walked in the doors. So we'll go ahead and get started with his. First case is REZN 08196221. This is a request to rezone 0.48 acres of land located at 3025 and 3021 Macon Road. Current zoning is NC, neighborhood commercial. Proposed zoning is GC, general commercial. Proposed use is auto truck repair, minor. Ernie Smallman is the applicant. The property is located in Council District 5. Charmaine Crabb. We'll hear from Mr. Renfro on the staff report first, please.
Yes, sir. The general land use is inconsistent for planning area D. Current land use designation is general commercial, futures mixed use. It is compatible with the existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to an issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. Property is serviced by all city services. Average annual daily trips will decrease by 250 trips if used for commercial use. The level of service will remain at a level D. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of the Columbus Consolidated Government for commercial uses. There'll be no school impact, no buffer requirement, no response from Fort Benning, no DRI recommendation. On the north side of the property, that is NC, south is NC, east is GC, west is NC. 21 property owners within 300 feet of the subject's property were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received no calls and/or emails regarding the rezoning, and there's no additional information.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Renfro. Commissioners, you have any questions of the planning department regarding this case? Anyone? All right. All right, sir. If you will, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and tell us what your plans are, sir.
Ernie Smallman, 6 West 7th Street. We were going to take down the building that's beside the Smoothie King, where it has Metro PCS in there, and then a T-shirt print shop. relocate them, take that building down and put a Take 5 oil change in. And we just need the change in zoning to make the oil change a conforming use.
Okay. So you plan on keeping the Metro building? Is that what I understood you?
No, we'll keep the Smoothie King building.
Keep the what?
The Smoothie King.
Smoothie King, okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. All right.
So the other two, there's too much building for the 4 parking spaces that are there. It just doesn't really work in its current state. I mean, it's probably 4,500, 5,000 square feet with 4 parking spaces on Macon Road.
Yeah, that was an old trophy shop, if I
Yeah.
recall, so.
But it's pretty tight in there.
Yes, sir. All right, sir. Commissioners, y'all have any questions of Mr. Smallman? Any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Doesn't appear to be. Does anyone in the audience like to speak for this case? Please come forward at this time. I don't see any activity, so anybody like to speak against this case, please come forward. All right, that said, Commissioners, I open the floor up for a motion regarding this case, please.
Okay. As it relates to, thank you,
motion
Mr. Chairman. As it relates to matter REZN 08196221, a request to rezone 0.48 acres of land located at 3025 and 3021 Macon Road, currently zoned neighborhood commercial, proposed zoning general commercial. In consideration of the staff report today and everything being in compliance, I move that we approve the request.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Got a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir. All right. Next case will be case number REZN 08196222. This is a request to rezone 11.20 acres of land located at 8501 Fortson Road. Current zoning is GC, general commercial. Proposed zoning is PUD, planned unit development. The proposed use is single-family detached homes. Allen Development Group Incorporated is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 2, Glen Davis. We'll hear from Mr. Renfro first, please.
Yes, sir. General land use is inconsistent in Plan and Area A. Current land use designation is general commercial, futures light manufacturing industrial. It is compatible with the existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to the issuance of a site development permit. If a permit is required, the property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will decrease by 436 trips. If used for residential use, the level of service will remain at an A. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of the Columbus Consolidated Government for residential use. There will be no school impact. For buffer requirements, minimum master plan development standards located on table 2.5.2. The front will be 50 feet. The left side will be 50 feet. The right side will be 100 feet. The back will be 50 feet. No response from Fort Benning, no DRI recommendation. On the north side of the property, it is RE1, south is RE1, east is LMI, west is RO. 15 property owners within 300 feet of the subject property were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received 2 calls and or emails regarding the rezoning. 2 of those responses were in opposition. An email was sent out pertaining to this prior to the meeting. Related to that, and I can read that email or a portion of the email. The summary of the email was basically that the homeowners of this property needed to be made aware of the location that they would be purchasing or renting homes would be located very close to a quarry, and just made sure that they were aware of that when purchasing the home.
That's right. All right, Mr. Dudley.
And just to clarify, the concern is that the quarry uses explosives and has blasting fairly regularly, and the residents would feel rattling and shaking.
That's correct, yes, sir.
What was the other comment sent in?
The other comment that was sent in, I received this yesterday evening. They were just concerned that that area had originally been proposed to be GC and LMI And they understand that Old Town being very close is a PUD. They would just were more concerned if this was going to continue to move northward through the county.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Planning? Thank you, Mr. Renfro. All right, Allen Development Group, if you would come forward and state your name and address for the record, and tell us what your plans are here, please.
Good morning, Bud Allen, 7790 Veterans Parkway. I'm the president of Allen Development Group. We acquired this property back about 6 months ago. Our intention is to rezone this property to PUD, Plan Unit Development, in order to develop a 58 home subdivision under a horizontal condominium concept. It would be a gated entry, private roads, private streets. The houses that would be built in there are going to be 1,800 to 2,000 square foot, coastal Carolina style. All of the landscaping, all of the exteriors of the buildings will be maintained by the homeowner association. There will be a club, house, and pool. We think that's basically this land is really more consistent with residential than it is light manufacturing, and that's the reason for our proposal this morning. I'm ready to answer any questions.
Commissioners, y'all have any questions? Mr. Allen, Mr. Dudley?
Yes. How would you address the concerns of the quarry owner about explosives and such?
We did some research. Our property is 5,140 feet from the quarry. Within that 5,140 feet also resides Northside Elementary, Northside Middle School, half of Northside High School, all of Old Town's new senior housing, and half of my Summit Point development, approximately 80 homes. So there's a considerable, and of course, as you go north, there's tons of residential and other houses around there. I don't think, based on the fact that there are all those other people in the area, that it's going to be much of an issue. I actually have a home at 4036 Wooldridge Road that we built 22 years ago. I just found it interesting that they sent this email out when they've never communicated with any of us that live adjacent to them. But again, based on the distance from the quarry, I don't think it's an issue.
Okay, does that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else?
I do have a question for Mr. Renfro.
Yes, sir.
Is the suggestion by Vulcan, is that an enforceable condition?
We could put that as a condition.
Okay.
Well, all right. Anybody else? All right. Yes, sir.
If we're going to consider putting in the condition that Vulcan suggested, you've seen the email, right?
I did see the
That
email.
it's notification. I have a question, and I guess it's to you. In your experience developing projects like this, how many potential homeowners or renters actually read and understand everything they sign?
Well, I don't think it would have much impact, but I am opposed to them doing that. Currently it's Zone C, commercial, general commercial, as you're well aware. And if, on the one hand, they're arguing that in their email that we don't create any nuisance for our neighbors. And then on the other hand, they're arguing that we need to notify the neighbors that we might be a nuisance to them, which is counterintuitive. But I would point out that in commercial general, or general commercial, you could have an ophthalmologist operating on somebody's eyes. If the blasting is an issue for residential, it would surely be an issue for commercial or for general commercial. You could have a dentist drilling your teeth. So I think they're arguments without basis as far as the blasting is concerned. But in any case, I don't think it impacts us one way or the other, whether there's something in deed or not.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Good questions. All right, thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
All right, as before, I'll ask, is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak for this case? Please come forward at this time. And no one's getting up, so is there anyone that would like to speak against this case? Please come forward at this time. All right. Yes, sir. And if you would, as before, please state your name and address at the podium for us and tell us what your concerns are.
Hi, I'm Jack Lawler. I live at 2424 Hubbard Road. And I'm really, right now, I'm open-minded about everything. It's more about the future. Myself, I own 40 acres, and my neighbor Gene there owns 11 acres on Hubbard Road. And like I said, really it's about the future, because if you have houses where you have 200 or 300 residents, in the next 2 years, if anything ever tries to go commercial in any way or light industrial, those guys will oppose it. If it tries to go 100% residential when it moves up Hubbard Road, and what if the rock quarry opposes that? Then we're stuck in the middle. We can't go either way, and we're kind of, I don't know what will happen to our future land and our values if we get stuck in the middle, considering if the rock quarry is concerned about their residential, it's further away, and we're half that distance. It puts us in an unusual circumstance. So that's really my only concern. I'm not for it or against it at this time. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Lawler. Anyone else? All right. Well, no one else got up, so I'm sorry. Come forward, please, sir. Thank you. You know the drill.
My name is Gene Orr. I live right next to Jack there on Hubbard Road, 2112 Hubbard Road. I will say that I've lived there since 1969. So everything that's happened in that end of town I know about. I've been there and been part of it. But the concerns is, like I said, right now from the interstate to Fortson Road to Williams Road to Hubbard Road, that tract of land, all the homeowners that live on that whole square that is not commercial at this time are in this courtroom right now. That's me, Jack, and Mr. Mobley represents the Suspanskys, who owns the property adjacent to this development and adjacent to Jack, and Jack's adjacent to me. And they own the property on the other side of me to the interstate. We're all in favor of that property at some time going forward to development to the betterment of Columbus, Georgia. And we want to move. So that's where we are. I liked it when it was country. I'm not crazy about all the apartments going up behind my house right now. They're up to our back fence, Jack and mine's, with the extension of Stevens Lane. They're all the way up to us. And y'all know what's going in there. So there's a lot of apartments, assisted living going in there, over toward the interstate. And then, it's just a lot of, there's some wood buffers in there right now owned by the Suspanskys and Jack and me, to Hubbard Road. But, as time goes on, more people get in those apartments and they come out of there going into our woods, and it's just, residence is not the way to go for that tract of land. It is the only tract of land in Muskogee County that is suitable for a light manufacturing without any opposition to residents. Because on one side is the interstate, then you've got all commercial development going down Williams Road from the interstate to Fortson Road to the four-way stop. You've got all commercial development coming down Fortson Road on the east and the west side of Fortson Road all the way past Hubbard Road. All the property in front of our houses is already owned by a commercial entity, which is the rock quarry. So, like I said, why put residents in the middle of all that? Why put 50 voices that could oppose any future real commercial development in that tract of land? And the traffic nightmare that it's going to contribute to. It's already a nightmare on Williams Road four-way extension. Four-way stop from 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock, and that's going to even add more traffic. But living on Hubbard Road and coming out onto Fortson Road for 40 years, I'm telling you, if any traffic comes out of this development on a daily basis onto Fortson Road in the areas where they're wanting to come out at, right there at 84 Lumber Company, going up the hill is Suicide Hill. And I'll tell you why. The dump trucks coming from the four-way stop off the interstate going to the quarry are empty. And they're running hard and heavy to go back and get another load. The more loads they can get in a day's time, more money they make. The dump trucks coming from the quarry going to the four-way stop up Fortson Road are running fully loaded. And that's a pretty good climb, that hill. So they come by Hubbard Road, around a curve, getting it to make that climb up that hill, loaded. And now you got, on that map right there, you got 2 roads that they're wanting to put right in front of them. And when those 2 roads come out at 84 Lumber Company or the next cut above, which is where the little small commercial development's going in there now, you get several hundred traffickers coming in and out there on a daily basis in front of dump trucks. Somebody's going to get killed. That's just the way it is. Those dump trucks, there's plenty of them. I don't know if y'all took a toll as how many dump trucks go up and down Fortson Road every day, but there's plenty of them. There's 3 quarries out there, not just Vulcan. There's 3. Florida Rock's out there, and the one on Gray Rock's out there. And they all use Veterans Parkway and Fortson Road. So, it just doesn't make any sense to put residents in that tract of land right in there, to me. Commercial, yeah, and as far as a road extension to alleviate any traffic that might be coming, if they build what I'm told they're going to build behind us on the extension of Stevens Lane, that traffic needs to come through. They need to extend Stevens Lane all the way through to Hubbard Road. Because Hubbard Road, the dump trucks can't come up and down Hubbard Road. They're restricted to come up and down that road. They got signs on both ends of the road, high fines if you're caught coming up and down the road other than making a delivery on that road. So if the Stevens Lane came all the way through to Hubbard Road, they could develop both sides of it, and that would bring that piece of property, that development, right through my property and Jack's property, because that's where they are right now. They're even with us coming our way, going north. So that makes sense, and Jack and I are willing to sell, and move, but like I said, not for residents. I just don't, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the commissioners here?
For Mr. Renfro, on, just for the clarification on the traffic count, if I'm reading this correctly, if it were to say GC and the 11.2 acres were developed, you're asking for 651 more trips, is that correct?
That's right.
Versus the 58 of the PUD housing only generates 215 trips.
Right, yes.
So just for clarification, if it was developed to be commercial, it'd be 3 times the amount of traffic versus the PUD development at this point, by our calculation, correct?
That's right, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, just for clarification.
All right. Any other questions, gentlemen? I do have a question about the back part of the property. Is there future plans for development on that you know of, Mr. Allen? Because that's quite a large piece of property back there, and I didn't know if this was in your long-range plan, so to speak.
Well, there's consultation going on with my neighbors about extending a road from Stevens Lane parallel to, between my property and the adjacent property on the sorry, I'm getting my south side of the, south side of my property, all the way to Fortson. We would dedicate half of the right-of-way, and the neighbors would dedicate half of the right-of-way, and we'd pay the expense to extend a public road through there. That would give access to the back of our property and access to theirs, and would alleviate some of the traffic congestion on Fortson. But, and if that were the case, then we would keep the back part of the property back there commercial. We might, we'd have to see what developed along those lines.
Okay.
But right now, I don't know what that's going to happen. If you know the folks who own that property, good guys, but they're slower to move than I am, so who knows?
That's right. All right, thank you. All right, commissioners, if everybody's got their answers, and open the floor up for a motion.
Regarding case REZ-08-19-6222, applicant is Bud Allen or Allen Development Group, 8501 Fortson Road, approximately 11.2 acres. Current classification GC, proposed classification is PUD, Plan Unit Development. Being that it is compatible with existing land uses, I move that we approve.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve. Do we have a second? I have a second, Mr. Brannon. Any discussion? All those in favor to approve, raise your right hand. All opposed? All right, so we need a motion to deny. It looks like, since we have two to three. Wait a minute.
4-1.
Was it 4-1?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did I miss it? All right, let's do it again. All those in favor? Keep them up. All those opposed? All right, all right.
We're good.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we go to case, thank you very much. We go to case number 3, which is REZN 08196245, and this is a request to rezone 7.89 acres of land located at 120 20th Street. Current zoning is RMF2, Residential Multifamily 2. Proposed zoning is RO, Residential Office. The proposed use is Residential Multifamily. Verona Campbell is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 7, Woodson. We'll hear from Mr. Renfro regarding the staff report first, please.
Yes, sir. General land use is consistent, planning area F. Current land use designation is multifamily residential. Future is multifamily residential. It is compatible with existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. The property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will increase by 373 trips. If used for multifamily use, the level of service will remain at a level C. This site shall meet the codes and regulations of the Columbus Consolidated Government for multifamily usage. It will have no school impact. The site shall include a Category C buffer along all proposed lines bordered by the RO zoning class district. The 3 options under Category C are 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 10 feet with a certain amount of shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, and a wood fence or masonry wall, 30 feet undisturbed natural buffer. No response from Fort Benning, no comment for DRI recommendation. On the north side is RMF2, south is GC, as well as LMI. East is the Chattahoochee River, west is general commercial. 50 property owners within 300 feet of the subject property were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received 1 call and/or email regarding the rezoning. That call was just an inquiry. It wasn't opposed or approval. Additional comment, council did approve abandoning, the city abandoning 20th Street. That resolution number was 22619. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Any questions of planning commissioners at this point? All right. All right.
I have one quick question.
Go ahead.
Just to make sure I'm looking at this correctly. It's currently zoned as residential multifamily 2.
Right.
And the proposed zoning is residential office.
It is.
And the proposed usage is residential multifamily.
It is.
And that can't be accomplished with the current zoning?
The setback requirement what they're trying to do. The setbacks are better for the RO, but she's actually going to comment more on that once she comes forward to discuss it.
Okay.
All right. If you would, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Verona Campbell. I am a resident of Columbus, 716 First Avenue, but I'm here on behalf of the Housing Authority of Columbus, located at 1000 Winton Road. The application before you is for a redevelopment project that we are working on. These things generally take about 4 years from start to completion, including planning. We've proposed to HUD to allow us to demolish the existing Chase homes. There are 108 units, and the plan calls for 102 units to be rebuilt, as well as a community center, leasing office, and health clinic, and other amenities such as outdoor gathering areas, covered grilling area, benches, etc. We are asking for a rezone because when this property was built, as many of our properties were, it was pre-firm. In other words, floodplain areas were not even established. At this time, HUD will not allow, in fact, they are orphaning all property within a floodway. So no part of any project may contain any part of a floodway. Not even a blade of grass. You know, before it was you couldn't build in the floodplain without elevating, but floodway, being the regulatory floodway, we cannot even include that. So we had to have a new survey, a new legal description drawn up for the project. So we lost some acreage there. We also have rules now about sound attenuation, environmental rules from HUD. And because this property is adjacent to a railroad track, and because it's adjacent to 2nd Avenue, the traffic generation, and we also have to consider any flight patterns for the airport. But because of all sound sources combined, it pushes us quite a bit into the existing property before we can begin to even put infrastructure. So, to this, another reason that we're looking for more dense zoning allowance, RMF2, I think it's 16 point something per acre. RO allows 42, I think. John, you'll correct me.
It's 43 for RO.
43 for RO. So we're not asking to put more apartments. In fact, we're going to only have 102 apartments built back. And that plan has already been submitted to DCA for a competitive low-income housing tax credit award, so that's in stone. If we receive that award from DCA, which could be around $9 million cash, which could turn into $14 million of investment cash to us to help us build this property and make it a nice property and still be able to pay the bills going forward with low income and depressed rents versus market study properties. We can still build a market-like property with the low-income housing tax program. So to abide by IRS rules, Georgia DCA rules, who administers the HUD, the IRS LIHTC program, and HUD, who have strict environmental requirements, not all of our site is actually usable. Then we have the additional desire, not because it's required, but because we think it's a better situation for our residents. We desire to move northward as far as we can away from the existing Georgia Power substation. At present, one of our buildings is maybe 10 feet from the perimeter fence around the Georgia Power substation. It's not a regulated thing with HUD. They don't regulate against building directly next to a power station, but there's a noise that's generated by that. Again, it's not considered by HUD in their noise studies, but we'd like to move our residents as far away from that power substation, as well as build a robust and beautiful landscape or fencing buffer whatever, the architects and designers can present to us, we'll go for the most robust option that is affordable in order to benefit the residents. So I know that this area, it's been at least considered or talked about creating a zoning overlay such as CRD or UPT. And in light of the fact that with Georgia DCA, this is our only year to apply for this. We came out with a really high scoring application of all applications in the state for this LIHTC award because a very strong contingent of community partners in that area have come together to support us. The schools, Mercy Med, many others who are interested in seeing that part of our city become a vibrant, thriving community. And we want to be a part of that. Every city has affordable housing, and we want to make the very best affordable housing possible for our residents and for the city overall as a benefit to the city, sort of like what we did at BTW down at Victory and Veterans. We had 392 units built in 1941, and we replaced it with 108 very nice market rate looking apartments. I don't know if you've been down there, but it'll be the same type of redevelopment project here. So, and for that, we are asking our architects, we're still not there where we need to be as far as building placement and site plan to really work. So we're asking for you to consider the setbacks that are included in the UPT and CRD for mixed use. And that would be 0 setbacks for this property. I will tell you that the DCA requirements for projects require landscaping and buffers. We're not going to build something that is unattractive. We will have market rate units in this property, and so those who aren't receiving subsidy choose where they live and pay rent, market rate rent. So this property will be run as closely to a market rate property as possible. So we plan, and we intend to make it beautiful, very, very beautiful, and I mean a real diamond along 2nd Avenue. And so I ask for your help so that we can meet HUD regulations, also meet DCA regulations, and have some flexibility to make this amount of units work on the part of the site that we want to use, which is really just the northern portion. And then the rest would be, we have a green space walk planned where you can see from 2nd Avenue, you can see straight down to the river. So it's nothing that will be taking the river away from the city. It'll be sharing it, because sharing that space with everyday citizens normalizes the lives of our residents. And so that's the goal of ours as well, being a part of the overall community, encouraging access to the Riverwalk. In fact, if a mother and her children want to walk to a grocery store, they can walk out the front of Chase, go up to the 14th Street pedestrian bridge, and cross at a very safe intersection to the grocery store just over in Piggly Wiggly. So it really is an ideal location, and will greatly improve the lives of our residents. And so in short, we're just asking for your help to give us some flexibility to make that happen.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right.
Quick question, if you
Mr.
don't
Reese.
mind. You said this is going to look more like BTW. I guess I was thinking like Arbor Point or...
Nope, actually, the facade design is not, that has not been really, we haven't really done much on the facade design now. What we do know, what I meant is it won't be the institutional-looking brick buildings that are there now. It will look like a market rate community.
And what's the road off of,
apartments.
is that actually station that's off of, is that Tarleton Road up there?
Tarleton Road, yes.
It
Yes,
is.
so, I mean, I like the way that that's spaced out and the greenery and, you know, the sitting stations. You're thinking of something more of that nature?
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be, what I meant when I compared it to BTW is that it will, when you look at it, you won't say, yeah, there's public housing. I had many people tell me that that development look like market rate housing, for sale market rate housing in some cases. So it won't be the design of Columbus Commons, it won't be the design of Arbor Point, it won't be the design of Ashley Station, but it will be a modern community befitting the City Village area, because that's sort of a mixed use. There's industrial, there's commercial, and, you know, so it will be something that will be fitting. And we'll have a community charrette. We've already met with residents, I know at least 4 times now over the last year and a half, to let them know what's coming and talk to them about their opinion of what should happen and what they want to see happen. And we'll also hold a larger community charrette.
Well, that's great. Do you know the percentage of residents that were in BTW prior to the transition that was able to move back into the facility that could afford it after it was completed?
I don't have that number, but I will tell you that there are only 15 market rate units in BTW. And anyone who applied to come back who had moved received a lease priority, which in the HUD world is really big. We don't give lease priorities to anyone for any reason.
And that's
But if
15
you're
out
a
of what
former
now?
resident, you get a lease priority.
15 out of how many units?
At Columbus Commons, 106.
No, at BTW.
That's BTW. Same.
Oh, Columbus
It's been
Commons.
renamed
It's been-
Columbus
oh,
Commons,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, we need to get used to the new verbiage.
Right, and this community will have a new name
Well,
as well.
15 out of 106 is pretty good. That's very decent. Okay. Well, I just want to request that you guys give the same level of priority, and it sounds like you're already doing that, and I applaud you for that, because I know it was a huge disturbance for many of them in the community. A lot of it was the unknown. People didn't know how this was going to work out and how the transition would happen, but there was a lot of concern for the folks that lived there. So many of my questions are beyond zoning, but it's more about the concern of the current residents and making sure that they have a smooth transition, you know, somewhere to be placed and have the aid that they need for the transition. But a newer facility would be better serving to them, and something
I
that,
believe
like you
so.
said, doesn't look institutionalized, but actually looks like a place where
Has
you could be proud of. That's what
modern-
creates great residents, when they can come home and be happy about where they live, be excited about the way it looks, invite people over, nice landscape, benches, park areas, access to the Riverwalk. That's awesome. Thank you.
I thank you so much. That's our goal, is to improve the lives of our residents with this work, so thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
I don't see anyone in the audience, so I'm not going to ask if anybody would like to speak for or against.
Did you just ask?
Sir? Well, I just did, so. Anyhow, I open the floor up for a motion, gentlemen.
As it relates to matter REZN 08196245, a request to rezone 7.89 acres of land located at 120 20th Street, currently zoned RMF2, proposed zoning RO. Considering the staff report and everything being consistent, I move that we approve the request.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Before we finalize that, we need to make a motion to amend the setbacks
Okay.
to 0 lot lines, if y'all approve that.
And I amend my motion to amend the setbacks.
Okay,
Okay.
Will that work for you?
yep.
Okay.
You include that in the minutes,
I
correct?
will. Yes, sir.
All right. And you second that as well, right? All right. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. And all opposed, it's unanimous. Thank you very much, Ms. Campbell. All right, we don't have but one item of new business to attend to today. Thank you for your presence and your participation. There's no meeting scheduled for September the 18th, and we need to move some meetings due to some meetings that the Planning Division has to attend. So do you want to address that, Mr. Renfro?
Yes, sir. Myself and Will be unable to attend the 2nd and the 16th planned meetings for October due to other scheduled meetings. We are requesting that these be shifted to the 9th and the 23rd, if that is a possibility and can work with everyone's schedule.
Okay. I know I've had a few that have mentioned they had conflicts, but is everybody okay with that? All right, well, do I have a motion to allow them to have flexibility on those dates?
Before we do it, is that adequate time to notify the applicants of the date change?
It is.
I mean,
We've received 3 rezonings, and that would be scheduled in October. They have already been alerted that more than likely that it would be pushed back to these dates already.
So it meets the requirement? that
Right,
would-
they've already.
Would they be on the 23rd or the 9th?
Right now, the 9th.
The 9th, okay. All right, and they have been notified. All right, very good. All right, if everybody's okay with that, we'll just go ahead and let them have that flexibility to change those dates.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
All good with that? All right. Any other new business we need to bring up?
That's not anything we need to vote on, right? We just.
Do we need to
just
vote
a
on that?
scheduling thing.
You can, I don't
All
think you
right,
need to.
well, let's make a motion to, someone needs to make a motion to give them the flexibility to change these dates to the 9th and the 23rd. So moved, and we got a second? All right, we got a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand, and it's done. So it's official. Thank you again. Again, no meeting on September the 18th, and we don't have any old business, and we are
Mr. Chair.
adjourned. Sir,
Before we adjourn.
before we adjourn.
Yes, before we adjourn.
Go ahead.
I just want us to be mindful of the fact that there's a monster of a storm off the coast right now. Many of our friends in coastal Georgia, as well as North Florida and Carolinas, are watching it closely. I know we have residents now that are here at the Civic Center fleeing, so we just want to keep them in our prayers.
Amen.
And encourage our residents, if they can. There are many supply drives going on to help assist them in that need, and since we are televised, this can help get the word out for individuals to help out any way they can.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, we need to take care of our neighbors for sure. All right, anything else? Thank you for your participation. See you next time. We're adjourned.